Good morning, everybody. This is Lewis Speaks 2019, and I'm making this video today because I'm tired of my mother's addiction. My mother is an alcoholic. Being raised by an alcoholic is no fun. You, over time, begin to share their addiction. You share in the blame, the shame, the guilt. You go through a myriad of emotions when you love someone who is an alcoholic. Growing up for me was not easy. I would constantly be with someone, you know, who did not accept accountability or responsibility for their addiction. They would oftentimes deny, dismiss, disregard, and diminish my feelings. They would say things like, "Oh, that didn't happen. You're exaggerating. Oh, you're exaggerating." Anytime that you try to bring to this person's attention, in this case, my mother, whenever I tried to bring to my mother's attention the gravity of her use and the gravity of how it was affecting me, I would always have my feelings diminished. You over time begin to question your perception, your perspective. You wonder if the way that you're seeing things is accurate. You question your intuition. This is the first time you start to question your intuition, and that becomes dangerous. And this is what happens when you're raised in an alcoholic home. They take parts of you that are necessary for your survival out in this world. And I needed my intuition, and my intuition was constantly undermined. I was always made to feel like I was crazy, like how I was seeing things was over the top, you know? And over time, when someone keeps on telling you that you're crazy, especially someone that you love and whose opinion that you respect and value, when you are not validated, when your intuition is not validated, you begin to question and wonder, wait a minute, is this so bad? This is not so bad. I remember having to carry my mother home from bars when I was younger because she could not handle her liquor, but it ran deeper than just handling liquor. Because my mother was an alcoholic, I had to carry her home, play nursemaid, play and tend to her needs the next morning when she had hangovers. Bring her soup, bring her juice. Always the little nursemaid. And so over time, I learned how to share her addiction. And I learned how to share in the blame. I had to keep the family secret. Couldn't tell the social workers, couldn't tell the teachers, couldn't tell nobody because then I would be taken out the home again and again. So I had to hold that secret in. And so I learned to keep that secret, to bury that shame. And when you bury so much shame, it comes up. They have a saying that feelings buried alive never die. Well, that's true. Because it spilled over into my relationships. When I got older, I struggled with boundaries. I struggled with telling my partners no. I felt uncomfortable physically. I would get physically sick when I had to tell somebody no or set a boundary. I constantly dealt with narcissistic, toxic people because that's what I was used to. I was used to always putting someone else's needs above my own. I was always used to putting their lives above my own. I was always used to them becoming center stage. So my feelings were placed on the back burner. I was the background to their foreground. Even to this day, I struggle with putting my needs first. And this is one of the consequences of being raised by an alcoholic. I tried numerous times to get my mother into treatment. I tried numerous times for us to just go into family counseling. And for a while she went, and then she stopped going because she mentioned financial issues and all this other stuff. And so she went right back to the bottle. She tried to leave it alone, tried moderation, tried all these techniques. But what she doesn't see is that it's affecting our relationship. She doesn't care though. She constantly dismisses me. She just constantly wants to live in her own pain, in her own yesterday. And it's upsetting when you love somebody and you want to see them change, but they're not motivated to change. So then you have to keep your distance, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm keeping my distance. I told my mother that if she wants to talk to me again, she will take treatment seriously. She will sign a release of information. I will talk with the therapist and I will go in and say my side of the story because I'm tired of her painting lies. My mother has a tendency also to paint and exaggerate stories and minimize stories so that way it can achieve her ends. She manipulates. My mother has apologized so many times, and I've forgiven her so many times. And it's to the point where her apologies are a form of manipulation. They have a saying also, an apology without a behavior change is just manipulation. And that's exactly what my mother tries to do. And I'm tired of it. I am so tired of it. It hurts not having the family support that you need. I've had to distance myself from other relatives because of their toxic behaviors, because their nonsense and how they don't respect people's journey. I've had to distance myself from them. And so I'm out here fighting alone. I'm out here fighting basically with limited support systems. And so parents who are alcoholics, they don't realize that they murder their children. They murder their children when they refuse to leave the bottle alone. They shorten the lifespan of their children. They leave their children out here vulnerable for the attacks of these monsters out here. They don't get that though. They're trapped in their own feelings and their own issues, And so what ends up happening is they transmit that trauma to their loved ones, to their children, their husbands, their extended relatives. And it's hard. It's really hard when you love somebody to try to tell them this. But once again, that's her journey. And that's why I've had to distance myself from a lot of people and from her because I love my mother. I respect my mother too. I look up to her. In many areas, I look up to my mother. I think that she has a solid business mind. I think the way that she has clawed her way from Harlem and the shooting galleries in Harlem to having her own apartment with a nice terrace and managing a job, I celebrate her for that. But at the same time, what I can't celebrate is her decline with this alcohol. And so I'm done. I'm done. If she wants to stop drinking, then we can definitely connect again. But what I will not do is have someone disrespect me, violate my boundaries numerous times. I will not have someone undermine my intuition, try to make me feel crazy. I will not have someone continue to leave these toxic voicemails and these toxic text messages. In the middle of the night, you wake up to a freaking text message that's toxic and that's cursing you out, and that's just abusive. That's emotionally abusive. And once again, my mother likes to accuse me of being sensitive, of being overly sensitive. But I'm not overly sensitive. I am sensitive in the sense that I'm sensitive and considerate of other people's needs. I'm sensitive in the sense that I don't abuse other people. I'm sensitive in the sense that I can pick up on certain rhythms and certain behaviors and mannerisms in other people and nuances. And that has helped me. You know, my sensitivity has been beneficial to her for many, many years. But when it's not beneficial, all of a sudden it's a problem. It's something to criticize. My thing is this, I'm not going for it. And like I said, this behavior has got to stop. If there's anybody out there who has a parent who is an alcoholic and who continues to drink despite the adverse consequences, despite the numerous treatment stints, I empathize completely, because it's hard seeing someone that you love destroy themselves slowly. But once again, you can't control their behavior. I can't control my mother's behavior. That's for her to deal with. All I can do is protect myself, inform myself, continue to build myself up, and validate myself, because that's all I have. All I have is myself. And so, with that being said, I'm going to have to take care of me, keep myself strong. So, I wish my mother continued success on her journey, in her recovery process, and that's it. That's it. You know? But anyway, thanks for listening.